And what I found so God is so good. What I found so interesting is that he hasn't heard from God this entire trip. There's nowhere in Genesis that says God then said, "It's going to be okay, Noah. Keep going."
Mhm.
God
Mhm.
then said, "It's going to be good, Noah. You're almost there. It's 364 days. You're almost there. It's 370." Like nowhere. He still had enough faith in between the travels to still know that, hey, he's still going to continue on with this mission.
Yep.
And to the point where he didn't hear from God until God told him, you can now open the door.
Right. Isn't that great? And yeah, and then oh my gosh, so yeah, we're going through flooding, waiting a year,
Mm-hmm.
waiting over a year or 100 something days to build the ark. No
Mm-hmm.
voice from God. Getting on the ark, a whole extra year, no voice from God. We're almost at 3 some years here. 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not good at math. And then finally, in verse 15, chapter 8, verse 15, he said, Then God spoke to Noah, saying, Go out of the ark,
Mm-hmm.
you and your wife and your sons' wives with you. Bring
Mm-hmm.
out every living thing, every creeping thing. I'm skipping a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
be fruitful and multiply. Can we talk about, remember when you touched on how God's was basically recreating the commandments to Adam and Eve? I don't know who
Mm-hmm.
said it, but again, he commands, be fruitful and
Mm-hmm.
multiply. Now I've started you over again, and I want you to pick up where I left off with Adam and
Mm-hmm.
Eve, except my promises look a little different now, which I thought was very beautiful. It shows God's promises in a new light when they go to verse 20.
Mm-hmm.
But he promises no more curses on you.
Wait. Before you even do that, right?
Where are we
In
at?
in the same verse that you're in, right? Genesis 8, 15 to 17, right?
Uh
What I
huh.
what I found so important about this is that Noah has not heard from God for so long. God gave Noah a mission. It's been over a year. He hasn't
Right.
heard from God. He's been on this mission. A lot of us would have given up. A lot of us
Yeah.
would have been distracted by the world. A lot of us would have converted back. We would have, God, where are you? You've deceived me, whatever. Like we're emotional creatures. But yet, God, Noah kept on going until God told him the next step. Noah didn't ask, how do I do this, God? What do I, is it left? Is it right? He literally just kept going step after step, regardless if he made the wrong step. He knew that God was going to be with him. He had enough faith to realize that God gave him this purpose, this mission, whatever word you use to call it, that God gave it to him. And even though he didn't hear from God, he didn't give up on God's mission just because he didn't hear from God. He
Hmm.
kept going. And the next step, at the right time, God then told Noah, it's time to open the ark and go out and multiply. A lot of us would have been like, peace out. We would have been like, oh, okay, the job is not, I've been in this job position for 3 years. I'm not getting the raise God gave me. I'm not getting the recognition God gave me, whatever the case is. And I'm just using a job as an example.
Yeah.
But a lot of us would have been like, it's been too long. Even me, I'm like, God, I need to be a millionaire by the end of this year, blah, 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 blah. God, where you at? Where you at? You know what I mean? And it's like he had enough faith to be like, I'm going to continue abiding by God, even though I don't hear him. And when God knew it was the right time, he gave him the next step for his journey. I
Yeah.
thought that was so powerful for us as believers. I don't know. I just was like, oh, Matilda, you need to chill. Like, I'm always like, what about my business? What about my business? What's the next step for my business? And I'm like, okay, if God told me this was my purpose or this is what he has destined for me to do in life, then if he already gave me that creativity, gave me those skills, gave me those visions, then every 5 seconds, I don't need to be like, Dad, are we there yet? Dad, are we there yet? Dad, are we there? God, are
Yeah.
we there? You know what I mean? I just need to believe that He has the map and the way for me. And I don't need to worry about how I'm going to get there, what money I'm going to use to get there, that He will provide the resources and the time for me to get there. So I thought this was just very, I don't know. I was like,
Oh, that's amazing.
yeah,
Testament of like trusting God. And
yeah,
when you really trust him, like he can work the way he needs to work.
mm-hmm,
Like, could you imagine that? You're playing a game of chess and then you know exactly what you need to do to win, but your pawns can move on their own. And you're
mm-hmm.
like, no, not yet. Like, no, stop. Like, what are you doing? Like, we're about to knock the king out. Stop. Or the queen. I don't know how you win that game.
Yeah.
And so it's like, God just tells you, trust me, follow me, be obedient to that.
Mm-hmm.
That was 2 years of not hearing God's presence. When the world was ending. Quite literally. None of us have experienced that but Noah. Noah is
Mm-hmm.
the only one who's experienced the entire world ending.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about missing work guilt. He had
Mm-hmm.
survival guilt times 40 million.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when God speaks, you should be fully aligned with just finishing what he said to do.
Yeah. And the correlation between God when they got onto the ark, God was the one that closed the ark doors. Now they're at their destination and God is the one to say, you can now open the
Now
doors.
go.
Now go.
That's like, I guess in hindsight to Noah, because Noah obviously had more strength than we did. He had more faith
Yeah.
than anybody.
Yeah.
To Noah, that was God closed it because
Mm-hmm.
it would mean the ark was so big there wasn't a mechanism or a way to close that up and seal it shut. So
Mm-hmm.
Noah knew, I'm not closing this. God closed that.
Yeah.
And then when he opens this mechanism that had been in the water floating for a year,
Mm-hmm.
he knew that's my cue. Like, I am so faithful to this, to my God, that I know he's opening it. The plan is going into fruition. Like, just
Yeah.
like he said.
Yeah.
And that's all Noah needed. Faith the size of a mustard seed. Faith the size of a mustard seed. No, that's what these books are for, though. Like, seriously, referring back to these people in the Bible that went through these things already that were 10 times harder than anything we could have ever imagined.
Yeah.
And the faith they showed to God. That is probably one of the main reasons, too, for this book. And this
Yeah.
is basically their testimony. And that's why I think it is important to share your testimony because it really does help other people stay
Yeah.
faithful.
I agree. This
So,
this was a great example. Definitely a great example.
mm-hmm.
Wait, wait, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
No, I was about to go into God's new promises. So if you still had something there.
Before God's new promise, right? So Noah gets off the boat, and it's not like the first thing he did was like, okay, let's go up. You know what? Let's go and shack up. We've been
Yeah.
in this boat forever. These kids have been crowding my style. I've been wanting to get. It wasn't like the first thing he was like, okay, now let me go and build a monument to myself. Now let me go and it's a brand new land. No one else is here. I must be king. You know what I mean? He didn't. There was no egotistical action that he took, right? He then gets out, builds an altar to God. To God. That was his first thought. He was like, you know what? Let me get out this boat. He saved me. He saved all these animals. Let me get out this boat and build an altar to God and sacrifice these clean animals. I thought that was so beautiful because it wasn't as if like we, and I'm saying we, but me, sometimes I get the blessing and I'm like, I bet I got the money. Let's go shopping. Let's do whatever. And I forget that I need to give my 10% to God, or I make excuses in my mind why I shouldn't give my 10% to God and this
Mm-hmm.
and that, right? He gets out. He's the only human. He's the primary man, basically. He's the ruler of this land at this point, right?
Yeah.
He's the GOAT at this point. He gets out and it's not like he's boasting. It's like, all right, now everyone kiss my feet. He's not like, he's not thinking so highly of himself. He gets out. His first action was that, let me build this altar. Let me thank God. Let me give him praises. Let me sacrifice. Let me show him my gratefulness and all of that. And I was like, dang,
That's
Noah really is
mhm.
the GOAT. He really is the
Like
man.
legit.
Faithful.
Good and faithful servant.
Yes.
I hope I can have obedience like Noah. That's actually all I ask for.
Mm.
That's all I asked for. And now, because of that obedience, it's still, it didn't feed Noah's ego, but because of
Mhm.
that obedience, we all come from that bloodline.
Yeah.
I heard something, I didn't fact check it, so don't quote this, guys.
Mhm.
But I heard that no, there was only 8 people who survived the ark, right? His 3 sons, him, and all their wives, right? And there's only 8 blood types on the earth.
Oh, that is interesting.
I mean, God's in the details, so I need to fact check that. But if that is true, I can't remember how many blood types there are. I know there's at least 4, but that shows that he was chosen to be the bloodline of the rest of the earth
Mhm.
because of his obedience, because he was so righteous, which also implies that God wanted us to have an upper hand somehow to have the blood and seed of someone so righteous.
Mhm.
Almost like, I ain't gonna start y'all out with a heathen, I'm gonna start y'all out, I'm gonna save you heathens, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
start you out with Noah and his bloodline.
Yeah.
To give you guys a fighting chance because we're kind of redoing perfection here with sin in the world.
Yeah. 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 Wait, do you have something before I go on to the next part?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so this one caught me in a chokehold. Genesis 8:21, right? So after he builds the altar, the next thing it says is that the Lord smelled the soothing aroma, and the Lord said to himself, I will never again curse the ground on account of man, for I intend for the intent of man's heart is evil from his youth. This made me think because I'm always like, God knows my heart. I hear that
Mm-hmm.
from everyone all the time. Oh, God
Mm-hmm.
knows my heart. He knows I mean well. He knows this. He knows that. But this basically said, God said your heart is evil
From your youth.
from your youth. He
Mm-hmm.
already knows. Like if you're always going to be like, "Oh, my heart is nice," or "I mean well," but your actions say the other, you're born a sinner. So your heart is all automatically evil to begin with, right?
Mm-hmm.
What I found beautiful is that God smells. He can smell, which means that
Yeah.
just like us, we are really an
Yeah.
image of Him.
Okay. That's true.
The
I never
fact
thought.
that we can smell aroma,
That's crazy.
I was like, hold up. We really, we really are kin,
Yeah. Like
right?
we related.
We really can relate to him. He can smell the aroma from the sacrifice. And then the fact that after he smelled the aroma, the fact that Noah sacrificed those animals, causing God to then come out and be like, oh, I smelled this. And then he then say, I will never curse the earth on behalf of men again.
Mm-hmm.
What if Noah never sacrificed those animals?
Yeah, like was that what ignited the promise, or was it the obedience of getting on the ark? I don't know, but I know that giving offerings is something that's been talked through Old Testament through the New Testament.
Mm-hmm.
It changed in the form of how you offer,
Mm-hmm.
but something I'm starting to learn is God likes fasting, prayer, and giving back.
Mm-hmm.
There's something in that formula.
Yeah.
Um, I guess obedience too, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like that's,
Mm-hmm.
if you're fasting, you're being obedient because boy, let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
that's not easy. And I like how they tied it in too to see. Remember how we were talking about the unclean and the clean animals last time,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and how he proves like I literally did bring those clean animals, the last pair, that
Mhm.
made it odd. Now we back to even numbers because I'm sacrificing those
Yeah.
to God.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what those animals thought on the way over when they were like, "Are we gonna be the sacrifice?"
They're
Just kidding, girl. But no, that was a beautiful full circle moment, and I used to catch me on guard when, and he says it quite a bit through Exodus and a lot of the
Mhm.
Old Testament, where
Mhm.
when they burn the offering, you smell the sweet aroma. I don't know about anybody else. I don't know if you've ever experienced
Mhm.
this, but I've heard the audible voice of God one time. I've said that
Mhm.
one time I physically heard the whisper in my ear. It gave my whole body chills.
Mhm.
But more than one time, and the first time I was young and I was in a movie theater, and
Mhm.
my mom took us to see The Prince of Egypt. And I don't know
Mhm.
if you've ever seen that movie, but it's about the story of Moses. And I remember smelling it for the first time there. And
Mhm.
since then, I've smelled it maybe 3 or 4 times. And maybe, I don't know, a week or two ago, I smelled it again. And now that I know the scripture of the Bible, I'm like, God, is that your sweet aroma? Like, I put it in my book. It almost
Mhm.
smells like it's literally sweet. It's like vanilla-y, but nothing you can really think of. And I feel like that I am smelling the presence of God or something. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Ooh.
But it smells exactly the same as the smell I smelled when I was a kid, when I was a
Yeah.
teenager. And it just reminds me of the sweet aroma, like, because God sacrifices for us. He's
Mhm.
the only God in all of the gods. We know there's only one who comes down to meet us. We don't
Yeah.
have to travel to any altar to meet him. We don't have to save up money to go find him. We
Yeah.
don't have to break your back. You can literally be right where you're at and he will come down to you.
Yeah.
So it's almost like he gives us this that sweet aroma sacrifice in return for
Yeah.
what we give him and believing in him. That's
Yeah.
just what it made me think of, just a personal story, because that soothing aroma. It every time I'm like, oh. At first I was like, okay, so God like the smell of meat blood, like, but I think it is deeper than that. I think it's more of like a love thing. Like, look how obedient and how loving my creation is being by
Mhm.
sacrificing something so pure to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he sacrifices Jesus, his son, for us.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of like flesh sacrifice going on,
Mm.
literally, figuratively.
Yeah.
That is it. Yeah, that's good. Good catch. That's really, really deep and prominent.
Yeah, I thought that was so beautiful. And even the promise of him saying that I will never again destroy every living thing on this earth, I thought that was really nice to hear because he he basically said, okay, you know what? At this point, you're just gonna be evil, right? You're going to have a heart that's evil. There's nothing I can do because sin has already seeped onto this earth because of
Mm-hmm.
Eve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let y'all be, you're gonna be evil. You're born in sin because of Adam and Eve. So you're going to be tempted, you're going to sin, but at least now you have the right foot. You're starting off fresh with the right foot. Now God is in the conversation, where after Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel, God was not in the conversation because they weren't worshiping anymore. They were building, instruments and cities and things of that sort, and that was their core focus. But now with Noah being such a great servant and being loving and faithful to God, his movement or his journey and his story basically brings God back into the fold. So
Mm-hmm.
I really loved that God was like, okay, never again. So then this brings the story back around of like all these people on TikTok. They're like, last year in 2025, they were like, oh, God told me, the guy in Ghana who was building the ark, and he was like, oh, God told me to build this ark. And people were bringing all of this money and resources to him. And God didn't come down, which then says to me, like, there's a lot of people that are not reading their word
Your
and
word.
being conned by leaders of whatever churches, organizations, and things of that sort. And if you read your word, you would see that God said he would never destroy the earth again. So there was no use of that God building an ark for however many days and years it took him. There was no need for people bringing him. People were selling their cars and bringing their resources, their money, and all this stuff. Now this guy took all their resources and money and just, dipped,
Which
But if they
is
would have just read the word, they would have known.
exactly. There's literally there's so much in scripture that is the scripture is where all like my discernment comes from
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
my life lessons, but scripture is really where I've learned like this is who God is.
Yeah.
And he does there, you don't have to guess. There is no, well, God could have put that in your life.
Mm-hmm.
No, no, if he's saying to you, I promise to never do this again, he's never going to do it again.
Yep.
And then he jumps ahead to tell you that the only other time that this world will be different is when Jesus Christ comes back for the final time. And
Mm-hmm.
still, he does not say, I'm going to destroy the earth. He says, I'm sending my son back to get my kids.
Mm-hmm.
You know who destroys this earth now?
The
Us.
devil.
Well,
And
yeah.
us.
Yeah, literally, the devil through us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sin, chaos, and destruction, war, killing. That is us because we are allowing sin to roam the earth because the sin is in the earth.
Yeah.
So we're feeding into our temptations. So I thought him acknowledging that we are sinful.
Mm-hmm.
However, I love you so much that I still want you to have this experience here. I
Mm-hmm.
still want you to live, and I'm still going to show you mercy on that. And I still have a game plan. This was
Yes.
only step one, wiping out the earth. The moment Adam and Eve sent, before he even created Adam and Eve, he knew he was sending Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I read this story. I have to share it. And it's like one of the hardest questions as a Christian to answer is if God knew we were going to sin and we were going to be living in destruction, why would he create us in the first place? And this is kind of something that atheists will always like dig into, like, your God is mean because why would he even create you if he knew you were going to sin? And I had a hard time answering that until I read this story and I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's always like relating it as a parent. And I think that's why he does, like, not just parents can understand this. I think if you're a child of someone, which is everyone, if
Mm-hmm.
you're in a relationship, if you're a friend, you can understand the way God works. If you have any type of relationship, you can understand the way God works. But as a parent, you absolutely know your kids are going to mess up. They're going to
Yeah.
fail at things. They're going to maybe not cuss you out, but they're going to give you attitude. They're going to not agree with you sometimes. They're going to want to leave you sometimes. They're going to be disobedient. They're going to cause a little bit of trouble. They may break something, yet your love for them never changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you still decide, I still want to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to have this child because I love them so much already. I loved Taylor the moment she was a little thing. The moment I found out I was pregnant, I'm like, love her. Don't even know what it is. Like, and you know they're going to mess up. That is God. So he is the perfect example of love. He created us even though he knew we were going to mess up. And he
Yeah.
had a plan to save us even from the beginning of knowing we were going to mess up. Just like a parent, always there to catch you when you fall because you know that they're going to mess up.
Mm-hmm.
And what does God give you? A choice. That is love. Like when everyone's like, God is love, I used to hear that growing up and I'm like, well, duh. But now I really understand, like, he is the perfect example of love. He doesn't
Yeah.
control you. He made you even knowing you were going to mess up. He still saves you when you mess up.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you turn your back on him, he's still there waiting for you to come home.
Yeah.
He has a plan for you, even though you completely destroyed what he built for you.
Yeah. Yep.
God is love. He doesn't control you. He lets you make a choice and he loves you. And that's why he created you. Because I used to wonder that too. Like, well, then why did you create us if you knew we were going to be heathens? Because he loves you. That's it. Because he loves you.
Yep.
Can I skip down to verse 9, or do you have something else about that?
I don't know where verse 9. Oh, wait, before you go to verse 9, right?